Welcome to Kiss and Chapters, where every story begins with a spark and ends with a swoon. If you love heart-fluttering romances, unexpected twists, and characters you'll root for, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep bringing you more sweet, emotional, and unforgettable stories. Let's fall in love with every chapter, together. Chapter 1. The Ice King and the Sunshine Resident. Hope Acosta was late. Not just running behind schedule late, but sprinting through the hospital halls like a madwoman late. Her first day as a resident in the cardiology department at St. Augustine Medical Center, and she was already making a terrible impression. Move, 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 she muttered under her breath, dodging orderlies and patients as she skidded around a corner. And then, impact. A solid wall of muscle and starch-white coat. Her clipboard clattered to the floor, papers scattering. Strong hands gripped her shoulders to steady her before immediately releasing her as if burned. Hope looked up, and up, into the coldest pair of dark brown eyes she'd ever seen. Dr. Damien Vargas. The Dr. Damien Vargas, chief of cardiothoracic surgery. The man whose name was whispered in medical circles like some kind of surgical deity. The man whose reputation for brilliance was only rivaled by his reputation for being utterly unapproachable. And she had just body-checked him in the hallway. I'm so sorry. Hope stammered, dropping to her knees to gather her papers. He didn't help. Just stood there, immaculate in his tailored coat, watching her scramble like she was an odd specimen under a microscope. "You're in my way," he said, his voice low and smooth and completely devoid of warmth. Hope blinked up at him. "Right. Sorry again." She flashed him her best "please don't hate me" smile, the one that usually disarmed even the grumpiest attendings. It had zero effect on him. His gaze flicked to her ID badge. "Dr. Acosta. Cardiology resident." "Yes." "Then you're late for rounds." And with that he stepped around her and walked away without another glance. Hope exhaled sharply. Well, that could have gone worse. By the time she made it to the cardiology wing, the other residents were already gathered, listening to Dr. Patel, the attending, discuss the day's cases. Hope slipped into the back, earning a few raised eyebrows but no outright scolding. After rounds she was pulled aside by Naomi, a friendly second-year resident. "You're lucky Patel's chill," Naomi said. "Vargas would have ripped you apart." Hope groaned. "Speaking of, I may have run into him." "Literally." Naomi's eyes widened. "Oh no." "Oh yes. And he was exactly as terrifying as everyone says." Naomi snorted. "That's nothing. Last year, a nurse cried because he corrected her suture technique in front of a patient." Hope winced. "Charming." "He's not mean," Naomi clarified. "Just brutally efficient. No small talk. No niceties. And definitely no personal connections. So why does everyone put up with him? 'Cause he's the best. Like once-in-a-generation best. If you need a miracle in the OR, he's the one who delivers it." Hope hummed, intrigued despite herself. Then Naomi smirked. "Also, he's stupidly hot. Like distractingly hot. But don't even think about it, no one gets close to him." Hope rolled her eyes. "Please. I'm here to learn, not flirt." Naomi gave her a knowing look. Famous last words. Hope didn't expect to see Dr. Vargas again so soon. But fate, or more likely the hospital's scheduling system, had other plans. "Dr. Acosta," Dr. Patel said later that afternoon, "you'll be assisting Dr. Vargas on the Thompson case tomorrow." Hope nearly choked on her coffee. "What?" "You heard me. It's a complex valve replacement. He requested a resident and you're up." "But, why me?" Patel shrugged. "Maybe he likes your enthusiasm." Or maybe Hope thought grimly this was punishment for crashing into him. The next morning Hope stood outside OR3, taking deep breaths. Don't screw this up. When she walked in, Damien was already there, gloved and masked, reviewing the patient's scans. He didn't look up as she approached. "Dr. Acosta," he said. "Scrub in. No greeting. No pleasantries. Straight to business." Hope obeyed, falling into the rhythm of pre-op prep. The OR was silent except for the beeping monitors and Damien's occasional clipped instructions. Then halfway through the surgery something unexpected happened. Damien reached for a clamp, and Hope handed it to him before he even asked. He paused just for a fraction of a second before taking it. A few minutes later he adjusted his stance slightly, and Hope repositioned the retractor without being told. This time he glanced at her. Just a quick, assessing look, but it sent a thrill through her. The surgery went flawlessly. Afterward, as they peeled off their gloves, Damien finally spoke to her directly. "You're not entirely incompetent." Hope blinked. Thanks." He walked away, but not before she caught the faintest hint of something in his eyes. Something that almost looked like respect. Back in the residence lounge, Hope collapsed into a chair. "I survived." Naomi grinned. And he's intense, but not completely soulless. High praise. Then Naomi's eyes lit up. "You know what this means, right?" "What?" "You've lasted longer than most. Which means you have to take the bet." "What bet?" Naomi leaned in. "Every year someone bets they can get Dr. Vargas to do something human. Last year it was getting him to smile. No one won." Hope raised an eyebrow. "And this year?" "This year," Naomi said, grinning, "the challenge is getting him to attend the hospital's charity gala." Hope laughed. "No way." "Oh, come on. You've already made more progress than anyone else. By not being incompetent." "Exactly. You're in." Hope groaned but couldn't suppress a smile. Fine. If she was going to survive this residency, she might as well have some fun along the way. And if that meant trying to thaw the infamous Ice King? Well, challenge accepted. Chapter 2. The Unlikely Bet. Hope Acosta was many things. Driven, optimistic, occasionally clumsy, but she was not a quitter. Which was why, after losing a bet to Naomi the night before, involving tequila and an ill-advised karaoke rendition of I Will Survive, she now found herself standing outside Dr. Damien Vargas's office, armed with a cup of coffee and sheer determination. The mission: get him to agree to attend the hospital's annual charity gala. The stakes: a month's worth of free coffee from every resident in her cohort if she succeeded. The likelihood of success: approximately 0. Hope took a deep breath and knocked. A beat of silence. Then, "Enter." That voice. Cool, controlled, and utterly indifferent. She pushed the door open. Damien sat behind his desk, his dark eyes flicking up from a stack of patient files. His expression didn't change, but she swore she saw the faintest twitch of his brow when he recognized her. "Dr. Acosta. Dr. Vargas." She beamed and set the coffee on his desk. "I come bearing caffeine." He didn't touch it. "Why?" "Because I value my education and thought you might appreciate a bribe." Pause. Then, almost imperceptibly, the corner of his mouth twitched. Was that almost a smile? Hope decided to push her luck. "Also, I was wondering if you'd like to attend the St. Augustine Charity Gala next weekend." His expression shuddered immediately. "No. It's for the pediatric wing." "I'm aware. And your presence would mean a lot to the donors." "I donate my skills, not my time." Hope sighed. "You know, for someone who fixes hearts for a living, you're not very good at using yours." Silence. Then, "Was there anything else, Dr. Acosta?" She resisted the urge to groan. So much for that. If Damien wouldn't agree to the gala willingly, Hope would have to get creative. Temp number 1, the coffee spill. She tripped near his usual morning rounds path, sending her latte splashing across his notes. His reaction? A single raised brow as he handed her a handkerchief. "Work on your coordination." Attempt number 2, the forgotten stethoscope. She left it in his office, then returned to retrieve it, striking up a conversation about his latest research. His response: "Your stethoscope." The door. Attempt number 3, the balcony ambush. She'd heard he sometimes escaped to the hospital's rarely used 4th-floor balcony. Sure enough, she found him there at sunset, silhouetted against the golden light. For a moment she just watched him, the way his shoulders relaxed slightly, the quiet exhale he let out. "He looks almost human." Then she ruined it by clearing her throat. He didn't turn. "If you're here to ask about the gala again, the answer is still no." Hope leaned against the railing beside him. "Actually, I was just enjoying the view." A beat. Then, "You're persistent. It's one of my best qualities." He finally glanced at her. "Why does it matter so much to you?" "Because the kids in the pediatric wing deserve the best funding possible." And whether you like it or not, your name carries weight. He studied her for a long moment, then looked away. I'll consider it. Hope's heart leapt. Progress. 2 days later, after a grueling 24-hour shift, Hope collapsed into the nearest on-call room bed, asleep before her head hit the pillow. She didn't hear the door open. Didn't feel the weight of someone's gaze on her. But when she stirred hours later, she realized 2 things. 1, she was still in her scrubs. 2, she was covered by a familiar white coat. She bolted upright, clutching the fabric. No way. Naomi walked in just as Hope was inspecting the coat like it held the secrets of the universe. Well, Naomi smirked. Looks like someone's got a guardian angel. Hope's face burned. He probably just didn't want me to get cold. Right. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that you drool in your sleep and he didn't want you to embarrass yourself. Hope threw a pillow at her. But later, when she returned the coat to Damien's office, she could have sworn she saw the ghost of a smirk when he took it back. The morning of the gala arrived and Hope had all but given up. Then as she was leaving her last shift, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. What time does the event start? Her breath caught. Oh, it can't be. Hope, 7 p.m. Who is this? Unknown number, Vargas. She nearly dropped her phone. Hope, so you're coming? Pause. Vargas, I'll be there. Don't make me regret it. Hope grinned so wide her cheeks hurt. Game on. Hope arrived at the gala in a simple emerald green dress, her hair loosely curled. She'd spent the entire day battling nerves, half convinced Damien would bail at the last second. But then at exactly 7:15 p.m., the crowd near the entrance parted like the Red Sea. And there he was. Damien Vargas in a tailored black tuxedo, looking like he'd stepped out of a Bond movie. The room went quiet for a split second before the whispers started. Is that Dr. Vargas? He never comes to these things. Who's the lucky resident who convinced him? Hope, frozen near the champagne table, watched as his gaze swept the room, then landed on her. And for the first time since she'd met him, Damien Vargas smiled. It was small. Barely there. But it was real. Naomi materialized beside her, shoving a cocktail napkin into her hand. Write your speech for when you accept your Nobel Prize, because what the hell did you do? Hope didn't answer. She was too busy watching Damien walk toward her, looking like he was about to change her life. Chapter 3. The Gala Incident. Hope Acosta was not staring. Maybe she was staring a little. But how could she not? Dr. Damien Vargas, the man who had once told a nurse that sentimentality has no place in medicine, was currently standing in the middle of a glittering charity gala, looking like he'd rather be performing open-heart surgery with a butter knife than socialize. And yet he came. For her. Or more accurately, for the pediatric wing funding. But still. Naomi elbowed her sharply. Breathe, Acosta. You look like you're about to pass out. Hope snapped her mouth shut. I'm fine. Totally fine. And I'm sure the fact that he's walking over here right now has nothing to do with your sudden inability to form sentences. Hope's pulse skyrocketed as Damien approached, his expression unreadable. You're late, she blurted out. One dark brow arched. I said I'd come. I didn't say I'd be punctual. Naomi coughed into her champagne glass, poorly disguising a laugh, before making a hasty exit. Hope swallowed hard. Well, you're here now. That's something. Damien's gaze flicked over her dress, lingering for half a second before returning to her face. You look acceptable. Hope choked on a laugh. Wow. Such high praise. A beat. The green suits you. Her breath caught. Was that a compliment? Before she could respond, the hospital director stepped onto the stage, tapping the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our annual St. Augustine Charity Gala. Saved by the speech. 2 hours later, Hope had learned 3 things. 1. Damien loathed small talk. He'd sent 3 donors fleeing with a single icy glare. 2. He was surprisingly good at pretending to listen to boring speeches, though his polite expression looked more like a man planning a murder. 3. He hadn't left yet. And that last one? That was the real miracle. Hope was mid-conversation with a group of residents when the band shifted to a slow song. Naomi smirked. Oh look, a romantic melody. If only there was someone here you could. Don't, Hope hissed. But it was too late. Because suddenly, Damien was right there, standing in front of her with an uncharacteristic hesitation in his posture. Dr. Acosta. The residents around her fell silent. Hope's mouth went dry. Yes. He extended a hand. Dance with me. It wasn't a question. Naomi's jaw dropped. Someone gasped. Hope was pretty sure her own soul left her body for a solid 3 seconds. But somehow she managed to place her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and steady as he led her to the dance floor. You do know how to dance, right? She teased, desperate to break the tension. Damien's other hand settled at her waist, pulling her closer. I'm excellent at precision movements, Dr. Acosta. And then they were dancing. Really dancing. Hope had expected stiffness, awkwardness. But Damien moved with effortless grace, his steps sure and confident. You're really good at this, she admitted. His thumb brushed against her hip. I have hidden depths. She laughed, relaxing into his hold. I'm starting to see that. For a moment it was perfect. And then, Damien, finally showing your face at one of these things. A woman's voice, sharp and honey-sweet, cut through the moment like a scalpel. Hope felt Damien tense. She turned to see a stunning brunette in a designer gown, her smile razor-sharp. Camille, Damien said flatly. The woman, Camille, ignored Hope entirely. I thought that was you. It's been 2 years? Damien's grip on Hope tightened slightly. Not long enough. Camille's gaze finally flicked to Hope, her lip curling. And who's this? Your latest project. Hope bristled. Dr. Hope Acosta. Cardiology resident. Oh, a resident. Camille's laugh was patronizing. How quaint. Damien's voice dropped to a dangerous murmur. That's enough. Camille feigned innocence. I'm just surprised you're slumming it with the help. Hope saw red. But before she could retort, Damien stepped forward, his voice cold enough to freeze hell. Dr. Acosta is twice the physician you'll ever be. And if you ever disrespect her again, I'll make sure you regret it. The entire room had gone silent. Camille paled. You can't. Leave. She left. Hope stared at Damien, her heart pounding. What just happened? They didn't stay much longer. Damien was a storm cloud the entire way out, his jaw clenched so tightly Hope worried he'd crack a tooth. She waited until they were outside, away from prying ears, before speaking. So, that was intense. Damien exhaled sharply. Camille and I have history. No kidding. It's not what you think. Hope crossed her arms. Then what is it? A long pause. Then, we dated. Briefly. She wanted a ring. I wanted a career. It ended poorly. Hope blinked. Wait. You dated her. Damien shot her a look. Is that so hard to believe? Yes. Hope gestured wildly. That. And she mimicked his usual icy glare. His lips twitched. Your impression needs work. Hope groaned. You're avoiding the question. Damien sighed, running a hand through his hair. It was years ago. Before I knew better. Hope studied him. The tension in his shoulders, the way his gaze kept darting to the street like he was calculating escape routes. You defended me, she said softly. He stilled. Why? Another pause. Then, because she was wrong. That was it. No grand declaration. No flowery words. But it was enough. Hope smiled. Well, thanks. Damien nodded stiffly. You're welcome. A cab pulled up and he opened the door for her. You're not coming? She asked. I'll walk. Hope hesitated, then impulsively leaned up and kissed his cheek. Good night, Damien. She slipped into the cab before he could respond, her heart racing. Did I just do that? Through the window she saw him touch his cheek, his expression unreadable. Then the cab drove away. The next morning the hospital was buzzing. Did you hear? Vargas actually went to the gala. And he danced with that new resident. Someone said he almost got into a fight with his ex. Hope kept her head down, but it was impossible to ignore the whispers. Naomi cornered her in the break room. Phil. Now. Hope groaned. It's not what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you kissed him. Hope nearly choked on her coffee. What? Who said that? Half the nursing staff. I kissed his cheek. As a thank you. Naomi grinned. Sure. And I'm sure the fact that he's been staring at you all morning means nothing. Hope's head snapped up. What? Sure enough, Damien was standing at the nurse's station, his gaze locked onto her like a laser sight. Her stomach flipped. Then his pager beeped and he was gone. Naomi whistled. Girl, you are in trouble. Hope buried her face in her hands. He was so screwed. Chapter 4: The Rumor Mill. Hope Acosta had survived medical school brutal residency hours, and even Damien Vargas's icy glares. But she wasn't sure she'd survive the hospital gossip. By Monday morning, the rumors had mutated into something unrecognizable. Did you hear? Vargas carried her out of the gala. No, he proposed in the middle of the dance floor. I heard she slapped Camille Whitmore and he applauded. Hope buried her face in her hands as Naomi cackled beside her in the cafeteria. This is gold, Naomi said, stirring her coffee with far too much glee. You've officially dethroned the cafeteria meatloaf as the most talked about thing in this hospital. Hope groaned. I kissed his cheek. One time. Like a grandmother would. A grandmother who wants him. Shut up. Dr. Acosta. A voice like frozen silk cut through their conversation. Hope nearly knocked over her coffee. Damien stood beside their table, his expression unreadable. The cafeteria noise dipped by approximately 70% as every head turned to watch. Naomi the traitor stood abruptly. I just remembered I have to go. Do a thing. Bye. Hope shot her a "you're dead to me" glare before forcing a smile at Damien. Hi. He didn't return the greeting. My office. Now. Then he turned and walked away. The cafeteria exploded into fresh whispers. Hope wanted to melt into the floor. Damien's office was as sterile as an ore. No personal photos, no clutter, just stacks of medical journals and a single framed award. He shut the door behind her. Hope braced herself. This is it. He's going to tell me I'm transferred to the basement morgue. But instead he said, you're being reassigned. Her stomach dropped. What? Temporarily. Dr. Lee in pediatrics requested an extra set of hands for a complex case. I recommended you. Hope blinked. You recommended me? Don't look so surprised. You're competent. High praise coming from him. But, he continued, his voice lowering, it will also distance you from the gossip. There was. Hope crossed her arms. So that's what this is about. You're embarrassed. His jaw tightened. I'm ensuring our professional reputations remain intact. By shipping me off? By removing you from the spotlight. She huffed. Well, sorry for thanking you. Next time I'll just let your ex insult me. Damien's eyes flashed. This isn't a punishment. Then what is it? A beat of silence. The damage control. Hope flinched. Damien exhaled sharply and turned to his desk. The assignment starts tomorrow. Dismissed. She stood there, fists clenched, before spinning on her heel and yanking the door open. Only to find half the nursing staff coincidentally lingering in the hallway. Great. Just great. The next few days were tense. Hope threw herself into the pediatric case, a rare congenital defect that required meticulous planning, but every time she passed Damien in the halls he was colder than ever. No nods. No glances. Nothing. It was like the gala had never happened. Naomi at least had the decency to look guilty. I may have overheard him telling Dr. Patel that the rumors were unfounded and unprofessional. Hope's chest ached. So that's it then. He's pretending it never happened. Or, Naomi said gently, he's trying to protect you. Hope snorted. Right. Because Damien Vargas is so concerned about my feelings. But later, as she reviewed scans in the empty radiology room, she overheard two attendings talking outside the door. Vargas shut it down hard. Said if he heard one more word about Acosta, heads would roll. Really? I heard he called her, just another resident. Hope's breath caught. Just another resident. The words stung more than they should have. The breaking point came on Friday. Hope was in the pediatric ward when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Conference room 4B. No. She frowned. The number wasn't saved, but she knew who it was. When she arrived, Damien was alone, staring out the window. You texted me, she said, incredulous. He didn't turn. We've been assigned to a medical conference in Vermont. Next week. Hope blinked. As in? You and me. Why? Because the case we collaborated on was selected for presentation. That made sense. What didn't make sense was the way her traitorous heart leapt at the idea of being trapped with him for days. And you couldn't have told me this in person? She challenged. Finally he turned. His expression was unreadable. Given the circumstances, I thought this was prudent. Prudent. Like she was a liability to be managed. Hope's temper flared. You know what? Fine. Whatever. But for the record, you don't have to hide from me. I got the message loud and clear. His brow furrowed. What message? That I'm just another resident. Damien went very still. You overheard that. Yep. She forced a smile. Don't worry, Dr. Vargas. I won't embarrass you again. She turned to leave. But his hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Hope. Her name. Her name, not Dr. Acosta. She froze. Damien's voice was low, rough. That wasn't about you. She scoffed. Really? I said what I had to say to shut the gossip down. His thumb brushed her pulse point. But you and I both know the truth. Her breath hitched. And what's that? His eyes burned into hers. You're not just another resident. Then he released her and walked away, leaving her standing there, heart pounding. The night before the conference, a snowstorm rolled in. Hope was packing when her phone buzzed again. Damien. Flights cancelled. We're driving. Hope, in a blizzard? Damien, I'll pick you up at 6. He stared at the message, equal parts annoyed and something else. Something warm. Something dangerous. Naomi's words echoed in her head. He's trying to protect you. Hope sighed and texted back. Hope, bring coffee. Or I'm hijacking the car. Pause. Then, Damien. Black 2 sugars. She smiled. He remembers how I take my coffee. Maybe this trip wouldn't be a disaster after all. Chapter 5. The Almost Kiss. Hope Acosta had survived many things in her life. Medical school all-nighters, Damien Vargas's glacial stares. Even that one time she'd accidentally stapled her own finger during a suture workshop. But this might actually kill her. 6 hours in a car with Damien. In a blizzard. She clutched her coffee like a lifeline as the windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the snow. The rental car's heater was on full blast, but the tension between them could have melted glaciers. Damien drove in silence, his grip tight on the wheel, his jaw set. Hope cleared her throat. So, how's the weather? A beat. Then, you're not seriously attempting small talk. I'm attempting not to lose my mind. His lips twitched. Focus on the coffee. She took a pointed sip. It's good. Thanks for remembering how I take it. A muscle in his jaw flexed. I remember things. The air between them thickened. Hope turned to stare out the window at the swirling snow, her pulse thundering in her ears. The storm worsened. By the time they reached the mountain pass, the roads were impassable. Damien cursed under his breath as the GPS flickered out. We're stopping. Hope squinted through the snow. Where? There's nothing. Then she saw it. A small, rustic cabin nestled in the trees. A vacancy sign swung precariously in the wind. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, she muttered. Damien parked and turned to her. Do you have a better idea? He didn't. 20 minutes later, they stood in the cramped lobby of the Pine Ridge Retreat, which was generously named, listening to the elderly owner cluck her tongue. Only one room left, dears, the woman said, handing Damien a key. But it's got a fireplace and a queen bed. You'll be cozy. Hope's face burned. We don't. Damien took the key. We'll take it. Hope gaped at him. He leaned down, his breath warm against her ear. Unless you'd prefer to sleep in the car. She snatched the key from his hand. Lead the way. The room was small. Very small. The queen bed took up most of the space with just enough room for a rickety chair and the promised fireplace. Hope dropped her bag and crossed her arms. I call the chair. Damien snorted. You'll break your spine. I'll take my chances. He rolled his eyes and tossed his coat onto the bed. We're adults, Acosta. We can share a bed without it being a catastrophe. Says the man who looks like a Greek statue come to life. Hope swallowed hard. Fine. But stay on your side. He smirked. Wouldn't dream of crossing the line. She glared. You're enjoying this. Immensely. Bastard. They ordered room service, grilled cheese and tomato soup, because the kitchen's gourmet menu consisted of exactly 3 items, and worked on their presentation in strained silence. But as the fire crackled and the snow continued to fall outside, something shifted. Damien loosened his tie. Hope kicked off her shoes. And somehow they ended up on opposite ends of the bed, debating the merits of minimally invasive valve repairs like it was a casual dinner conversation. "You're wrong," Damien said, pointing at her with his spoon. Hope gasped in mock outrage. "I'm what?" "The recovery time you cited is unrealistic for elderly patients." "Oh please. Your method is archaic." His eyes gleamed. "Is that a challenge, Acosta?" He grinned. "It's a fact, Vargas." He laughed, a real genuine laugh, and Hope's heart did something dangerous in her chest. "Oh no. This is bad." "Has this Damien?" Relaxed, rumpled, and smiling in the firelight. This Damien was lethal. The storm raged on. The fire burned low. And somewhere between arguing about surgical techniques and stealing the last fry from his plate, Hope realized she was happy. Actually, stupidly happy. Damien stretched, his shirt riding up just enough to reveal a sliver of toned stomach. Hope looked away quickly. "Nope. Not looking. Not thinking about that." "But then, you've got something." Damien reached out, brushing his thumb against the corner of her mouth. Hope froze. "Ketchup," he murmured, his voice rough. His hand lingered. Her breath caught. And for a heartbeat the world narrowed to just them. The warmth of his touch, the way his gaze dropped to her lips, the charged silence between them. "He's going to kiss me. I'm going to let him." A loud thud from the hallway shattered the moment. They jerked apart. Damien cleared his throat. "We should sleep. Big day tomorrow." Hope nodded, her pulse still racing. "Right. Sleep." They turned off the lights. They climbed into bed. And they lay there, stiff as boards, staring at the ceiling as the firelight danced across the walls. Hope wasn't sure how much time had passed when Damien finally spoke. "I don't do this." Her breath hitched. "Do what?" "Any of this." She turned her head to look at him. In the dim light his profile was all sharp angles and shadows. "You don't share beds with colleagues often?" she teased weakly. He didn't smile. "I don't let people in." The raw honesty of it stole her breath. Hope rolled onto her side to face him fully. "Why not?" A long pause. Then, "Because it's easier that way." She studied him, the tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers clenched the sheets. "Easier," she repeated softly. "But not better." Damien turned his head, their faces inches apart. "No," he admitted. "Not better." Their breaths mingled in the space between them. Hope's heart pounded. "Kiss me, please." But instead, Damien exhaled sharply and rolled onto his back again. "Good night, Hope." She closed her eyes, equal parts frustrated and aching. "Good night, Damien." Chapter 6, The Breakthrough. The first thing Hope noticed when she woke was warmth. The second thing, she was not on her side of the bed. Somehow in the night she'd migrated to the center. And worse, her head was now pillowed on Damien's chest, her arms slung across his waist. She froze. "Oh God. Oh no. This isn't happening." Damien's breathing was deep and even, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. He was still asleep, his dark lashes fanned against his cheeks, his usually stern features softened in slumber. Hope held her breath, carefully easing away. Only for his arm to tighten around her. "Going somewhere?" His voice was rough with sleep. She squeaked. I was just..." Damien opened one eye. "Stealing my body heat and then abandoning me?" Hope's face burned. "You were also in the middle." A slow, lazy smirk curved his lips, a sight so rare it stole her breath. "I'm not complaining." Her pulse skyrocketed. "This is dangerous." The moment stretched, thick with something unspoken, until Damien's phone buzzed on the nightstand, shattering the spell. He sighed, releasing her to check it. Then his expression shifted instantly to doctor mode. "We need to go," he said, already rolling out of bed. "There's been an emergency back at the hospital." Hope sat up, instantly alert. "What kind?" Damien's gaze met hers, grim. "The kind that can't wait." The roads were clearer when they left, but the tension in the car was thicker than the snow had been. Hope stole glances at Damien as he drove, his jaw set, his fingers tight on the wheel. Last night had changed something. She just wasn't sure what. When they arrived at St. Augustine, the ER was chaos. 8-year-old male, congenital heart defect. Dr. Patel briefed them as they scrubbed in. His mitral valve is failing. He crashed on the table during the initial repair. Hope's stomach dropped. Who was the attending? Patel hesitated. Camille Whitmore. Damien's hands stilled under the water. Hope's breath caught. His ex. The one from the gala. Patel lowered his voice. She's good, but this isn't her specialty. The family requested a second opinion. Damien's expression was unreadable. Get me the scans. There was a battlefield. The boy, Liam, lay too still on the table, his small chest open, his heartbeat erratic on the monitors. Camille stood at the foot of the table, her eyes widening when Damien strode in. Damien, she said, her voice tight. I didn't. Scrub out, he interrupted, not looking at her. I'll take it from here. Camille's face flushed, but she didn't argue. Hope moved to Liam's side, her focus narrowing to the rhythm of the monitors, the steady beep that was too slow, too weak. Damien stepped up beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. Ready? She nodded. And then they worked. It was like nothing Hope had ever experienced. They moved in perfect sync, Damien's hands steady and sure, hers anticipating his every need before he voiced it. Clamp. Suction. No words. Just trust. At one point, Liam's heart stuttered, the monitor flatlining for one terrifying second. But Damien didn't flinch. Acosta. Now. Hope acted on instinct, her hands flying to adjust the bypass machine as Damien massaged the tiny heart back into rhythm. The OR team held their breath. The beep, beep, beep. A steady pulse. Hope exhaled sharply, her knees wobbling. Damien's gloved hand squeezed hers briefly before he returned to the repair. We did it. 3 hours later, the surgery was a success. Hope was stripping off her gloves when Damien cornered her in the scrub room. You were brilliant in there. The raw admiration in his voice made her breath catch. She shrugged, suddenly shy. I had a good teacher. Damien stepped closer, his gaze intense. It wasn't just skill. You understood what I needed before I asked. I've never... He broke off, shaking his head. I've never trusted anyone in the OR like I trust you. Hope's heart hammered. Damien. His name was barely a whisper, but it seemed to undo him. His hands came up to cradle her face, his thumbs brushing her cheeks. Hope. And then, he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, all pent-up longing and adrenaline and something deeper, something that felt inevitable. Hope melted into him, her fingers twisting in his scrub top, her body humming with the rightness of it. When they finally broke apart, Damien rested his forehead against hers, his breathing ragged. I don't know what I'm doing, he admitted. Hope smiled. You're doing just fine. They might have stayed like that forever, lost in each other, the world outside forgotten. If the door hadn't swung open. Vargas, the family wants to, oh. Naomi froze in the doorway, her eyes widening at the sight of them. Damien's hands still framing Hope's face, her lips undoubtedly kiss-swollen. Hope groaned. Naomi. Nope. No, I see nothing. Naomi spun on her heel, then paused. But, the family is waiting. Damien sighed, dropping his hands. We'll be right there. Naomi fled. Hope bit her lip. So, that's going to be all over the hospital in approximately 5 minutes. Damien surprised her by smiling. A real, unguarded smile. Let them talk. Then he kissed her again, quick and sweet, before leading her out to meet Liam's family. The rumors spread faster than a code blue. By evening, the entire hospital was buzzing. Vargas and Acosta were making out in the scrub room. I heard he carried her out of the OR. Someone said they're engaged. Hope hid in the on-call room, her face in her hands. Damien found her there, leaning against the doorframe with an amused expression. Regrets. She peeked through her fingers. Only that we didn't lock the door. He laughed, a rich, warm sound that made her stomach flip. Then he crossed the room and pulled her to her feet. Let them talk, he murmured, brushing his lips against her temple. I don't care. Hope studied him, the softness in his eyes, the way his hands lingered at her waist. Who are you, she teased, and what have you done with Damien Vargas? He kissed her again, slow and lingering. I'm starting to wonder the same thing. Chapter 7. The Fallout. For 3 glorious days, Hope Acosta floated through the hospital in a haze of stolen kisses and lingering touches. Damien Vargas, her Damien, held her hand in the elevator. Damien Vargas brought her coffee with 2 sugars and a smirk. Damien Vargas kissed her in the supply closet like he couldn't help himself. It was surreal. It was perfect. It was doomed. The envelope sat innocently on Hope's desk when she returned from rounds. Stanford University School of Medicine gleamed in embossed letters. Her hands shook as she tore it open. Dear Dr. Acosta, we are pleased to offer you a position in our prestigious cardiothoracic surgery fellowship program. The words blurred. Stanford, California. 3,000 miles away. Congratulations. Hope jumped. Damien stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. You knew about this? Dr. Lee told me they were considering you. He stepped closer, his voice carefully neutral. It's an incredible opportunity. Her stomach twisted. Yeah, it is. Silence stretched between them, thick with everything they weren't saying. Damien cleared his throat. When do you leave? The next week was agony. Damien became a ghost, present in body but absent in every way that mattered. No more kisses. No more shared lunches. Just clipped professionalism and averted eyes. Naomi cornered Hope in the locker room. Hey, what the hell happened? One minute you two were disgustingly in love, the next he's back to the Ice King routine. Hope slumped onto the bench. I got into Stanford's fellowship. Naomi's eyes widened. Oh, yeah. And he's, what? Freaking out. More like freezing me out. Hope swallowed hard. I think he's waiting for me to leave. Naomi sighed. Or he's trying to make it easier on himself. Hope's phone buzzed. A text from Stanford. We need your decision by Friday. 3 days. 3 days to choose between her dream career and the man who'd somehow become her dream everything else. She finally snapped on Thursday. Damien was in his office, staring blankly at a patient chart when she stormed in. We need to talk. He didn't look up. I'm working. Bullshit. She slammed the door. You're hiding. His jaw clenched. What do you want me to say, Hope? How about anything? Her voice cracked. Tell me not to go. Tell me you'll miss me. Hell, tell me it was just a fling. But say something. Damien stood abruptly, his chair screeching. What good would that do? It would mean you care. Of course I care. The raw anguish in his voice stunned her. But my father chose his career over his family, and I won't be the reason you. He cut himself off, turning away. Hope's breath caught. You think I'd resent you? You should. His shoulders hunched. Stanford is everything you've worked for. She stepped closer. And what if you're what I want? Damien went very still. Then quietly, you don't know what you're saying. I do. He reached for him. But he sidestepped her touch. You should go, he said hoarsely. Before we both regret it. Hope's hand dropped. Something inside her shattered. Fine. She turned on her heel. Have it your way. The airport was crowded. Hope checked her bags on autopilot, her chest hollow. One-way ticket to San Francisco. New life. No Damien. Her phone buzzed. Naomi. You're really leaving? Hope typed back. He made his choice. Then she powered off her phone and boarded the plane. Damien stood in Hope's empty apartment, the key she'd forgotten to reclaim burning in his pocket. The walls echoed with her absence. He picked up a forgotten hair tie from the floor, his throat tight. She's really gone. And it was his fault. His phone rang. Dr. Patel. Vargas, we need you in or two. Emergency transplant. Damien closed his eyes. Then he slipped the hair tie into his coat pocket and walked out the door. Chapter 8. The Grand Gesture. The auditorium at St. Augustine Medical Center was packed. Hope Acosta adjusted her mic, scanning the crowd of surgeons and residents. She'd given this lecture a dozen times at Stanford, but tonight her palms were sweating. Because he's here. She'd seen Damien the moment she stepped on stage, front row, immaculate in his white coat, watching her with an intensity that made her pulse stutter. 1 year. 1 year since she'd walked away. 1 year since he'd let her. Hope took a steadying breath. As we've seen, the modified minimally invasive technique reduces recovery time by 40%. The screen behind her displayed her groundbreaking research. The work she'd poured herself into. The work that had almost filled the Damien-shaped hole in her chest. Almost. After the lecture, a crowd swarmed her. Colleagues, admirers, reporters. But she felt him before she saw him. Damien waited at the edge of the group, his hands in his pockets. Their eyes met. Her breath caught. Then a resident stepped between them, asking a question about suturing techniques, and when she looked again, he was gone. Hope was packing up her notes when Naomi appeared, grinning. So, you're famous now. Hope rolled her eyes. Hardly. Please. Half the residents have your paper taped above their beds for inspiration. Naomi hesitated. The other half are betting on whether you and Vargas will. No. Hope slammed her briefcase shut. Whatever they're imagining, it's not happening. Naomi arched a brow. Really? Because someone reserved your favorite table at Giuseppe's tonight. 8 p.m. Hope froze. Giuseppe's. Their spot. The tiny Italian place where they'd shared tiramisu and whispered confessions over candlelight. Her traitorous heart leapt. Tell him not to bother. Naomi smirked. Tell him yourself. Hope wasn't going. Absolutely not. Until she found herself standing outside Giuseppe's at 8:07 p.m., wearing her favorite emerald dress and a scowl. Damien stood as she entered, his tie slightly loosened, his eyes wary. You came. She crossed her arms. I'm hungry. A ghost of a smile. Sit. Please. The familiarity of it ached. The way he pulled out her chair, the wine he'd already ordered, her favorite Pinot. Even the way his fingers tapped restlessly against the tablecloth. He's nervous. The realization disarmed her. They made stilted small talk through the appetizers. Her research, his recent promotion, the hospital gossip. Then, why did you ask me here, Damien? He set down his fork. I read your paper. Twice. And it's brilliant. His voice dropped. But the acknowledgements page was surprising. Hope's cheeks warmed. She'd almost deleted that part, the single line buried between thank yous to her Stanford team. 4DV, who taught me that the best surgeons operate with their hearts as much as their hands. She lifted her chin. It was professional courtesy. Damien's eyes darkened. Liar. The word hung between them, charged and dangerous. Then, I made a mistake. His hand covered hers. The worst of my life. Hope's breath hitched. Which part? Letting me go? Or waiting a year to say so? Both. His thumb brushed her knuckles. But mostly, not fighting for you. The raw honesty in his voice unraveled her. She pulled her hand away. It's too late. Is it? Hope opened her mouth. And the fire alarm went off. Giuseppe's evacuated into the street, patrons grumbling as firefighters arrived. Hope turned to leave. But Damien caught her wrist. Come with me. She should have refused. Instead she followed. He led her to the hospital's rarely used rooftop garden, the city lights sprawling below them. Hope frowned. What are we? Then she saw it. A blanket. A picnic basket. A single candle flickering in a mason jar. And pinned beneath it, a familiar hair tie. Her throat tightened. You kept this. Damien's gaze was unbearably soft. I kept everything. He opened the basket, revealing 2 takeout containers of Giuseppe's tiramisu. Hope's eyes burned. You remembered. I remember everything. He stepped closer. The way you take your coffee. How you hum when you suture. That stupid little dance you do when you're nervous. A tear slipped down her cheek. Damien. I was wrong. His voice broke. About us. About me. You were never a distraction from my work. You were the only thing that made it matter. Hope's resolve crumbled. It's not that simple, she whispered. Stanford is offering me a visiting professorship next semester. Her jaw dropped. What? Damien smiled, that rare real smile that still wrecked her. Turns out they'll take anyone with a few published papers. Hope laughed wetly. You planned this. A year's worth of planning. He cupped her face. But I'll wait longer if I have to. However long it takes for you to forgive me. She searched his eyes. No walls, no masks, just Damien laid bare. Her heart stuttered. Kiss me, you idiot. He did. And somewhere below them, an entire hospital of nosy doctors and nurses erupted into cheers. Epilogue. 1 year later. The OR at Stanford was silent except for the steady beep of monitors. Hope adjusted her headlamp, glancing at her scrub nurse. Forceps. The nurse handed them over, but not before winking at the silver band on Hope's left hand. Across the table, Damien caught her eye beneath his surgical mask, his gaze warm. Ready? His eyes asked. Hope smiled. Boys. And together they got to work. Bonus chapter. The Wedding Crasher. Hope Acosta Vargas was not having a bridezilla moment. Okay, maybe a small one. This is not the lace we agreed on. She held up the offending sleeve of her wedding dress, glaring at the terrified seamstress. I wanted Chantilly, not Alasa. They're completely different. Naomi, her maid of honor, snorted into her mimosa. They're both French and ugly. What's the big deal? Hope whirled on her. The big deal is that I'm getting married in 3 hours and my dress looks like it was made by a blindfolded toddler. The bridal suite door swung open. I brought Xanax, Dr. Patel announced, holding up a single pill. And before you ask, yes, it's FDA approved, and no, Damien doesn't know I stole it from his emergency stash. Hope groaned, collapsing onto a fainting couch that had seen far too many dramatic brides before her. Remind me why we didn't elope? Naomi patted her head. Because your husband-to-be wanted to declare his love in front of God and everyone. Vomit. Also, Patel added, the hospital board threatened to revoke his or privileges if he didn't let them cash in on the open bar. Hope groaned louder. Across the venue, Damien Vargas was not panicking. He was absolutely panicking. It's too late to back out now, his best man Dr. Lee said cheerfully, straightening Damien's tie. I already bribed the florist to hide your wallet. Damien scowled. I'm not backing out. I'm re-evaluating life choices. Same thing you did before your boards. That was different. Was it? Damien opened his mouth, then froze as the wedding coordinator burst in wild-eyed. She's here. The room went silent. Dr. Lee paled. Not? Camille Whitmore. Damien's tie suddenly felt like a noose. Hope was mid-mental breakdown when Naomi's phone buzzed. Oh. Hell no. Hope lifted her head. What? Naomi turned the screen toward her. A text from a nurse friend. Code pink at the chapel. Camille just walked in wearing white and asking for Vargas. Hope saw red. Give me the Xanax, she said calmly. Patel hesitated. How much? All of it. Camille Whitmore had aged like fine wine. If fine wine came with a side of venom and a Vera Wong knockoff. She'd cornered Damien near the altar, her manicured hand on his arm. You look handsome, she purred. But then you always did clean up well. Damien extracted himself with surgical precision. You weren't invited. Darling, I RSVP'd. She fluttered fake lashes. Didn't you get it? Before Damien could respond. There you are. Hope's voice cut through the tension like a scalpel. She stood in the chapel doorway, still in her robe, her hair half-curled and radiating fury. Camille smiled. Hope, darling. I was just. Save it. Hope stalked forward, stopping toe-to-toe with her. You have 30 seconds to get out before I remove your spleen without anesthesia. Camille blinked. You can't. 25 seconds. A beat. Then. Camille turned to Damien. You're really marrying this? Damien didn't hesitate. Hell yes. And with that, Camille Whitmore was escorted out by 2 burly orderlies, who may or may not have been paid in top-shelf whiskey. Somehow, against all odds, the ceremony went off without a hitch. Hope walked down the aisle in her correct lace. Damien grinned like an idiot the entire time, and even Dr. Patel cried, though he blamed the pollen. But the real drama came after. 1 a.m. open bar. Naomi, climbing onto a table. I just want to say, Camille, if you're still here, screw you. 1:15 a.m. dance floor. Dr. Lee, whispering to Damien, I think Patel's flirting with the cardiologist from Mass General. Damien, finally. 1:30 a.m. cake table. Hope, feeding Damien frosting. Remember when you were all, I don't do relationships? Damien, licking her fingers. I was an idiot. 2 a.m. secret hospital elevator. Hope, we're really doing this? On our wedding night. Damien, hitting the button for the on-call room. Tradition is important. Epilogue. The morning after. Sunlight streamed through the on-call room's tiny window as Hope stirred, tangled in Damien's arms and a very questionable hospital blanket. Damien pressed a kiss to her bare shoulder. Good morning, Dr. Acosta Vargas. Hope smiled against his chest. Say it again. Dr. Acosta Vargas. Perfect. Then her pager went off. Damien groaned. Ignore it. Hope checked the message, then burst out laughing. Naomi. Code Pediatrics. Camille sent a skywriter. It says I object. Damien buried his face in a pillow. I'm divorcing you. Hope kissed him soundly. No, you're not. A beat. No, he sighed, pulling her closer. I'm really not. The real end. Bonus chapter. The baby bomb. Hope Acosta Vargas prided herself on 3 things. 1. Her steady hands in the oar. 2. Her ability to out-debate any attending. 3. Never fainting. Which was why it was particularly embarrassing when she woke up on the floor of OR3, surrounded by horrified residents, with Damien's pale face hovering above her. Hope. His voice was sharp, his fingers pressing against her pulse. Talk to me. She blinked up at the ceiling. Did I just pass out? Naomi, holding an ammonia packet under her nose, nodded. Like a Victorian heroine. Very dramatic. Damien's jaw tightened. When was the last time you ate? Hope tried to sit up. Lunch, I think. Whoa. The room spun. Damien caught her, his grip firm. Cancel my next surgery. I'm taking her to the ER. Hope groaned. I'm fine. Just low blood sugar. But Damien wasn't listening. He was already barking orders, his chief of surgery voice leaving no room for argument. As he lifted her onto a gurney, Hope caught Naomi's raised brow and mouthed, Help me. Naomi smirked. Oh no, Dr. Doom and Gloom is right. You look like death warmed over. Hope flipped her off. The ER attending, a fresh-faced resident Hope didn't recognize, scanned her chart with wide eyes. So, any chance you could be pregnant? Hope laughed. What? Oh, I'm on the pill and we're... Damien, arms crossed by the door, stiffened. The resident hesitated. Your HCG levels are... not 0. Silence. Hope's stomach dropped. Run it again. They did. Came back positive. Damien's face was a masterpiece of controlled shock. Hope's brain short-circuited. But how? Naomi, who had somehow invited herself to this disaster, snorted. Oh, I wonder. Damien shot her a glare that could melt steel. Hope pressed her hands to her face. Baby. We're having a... Then the nausea hit. He barely made it to the trash can. Damien was not handling it. Which, for him, meant he'd gone completely silent for 27 minutes straight. Hope paced their living room, her socks sliding on the hardwood. We can do this. We're surgeons. We thrive under pressure. We deliver babies, Damien said quietly. We don't raise them. Hope stopped pacing. You're scared. He didn't deny it. She sat beside him, their shoulders brushing. Me too. Damien exhaled sharply, his fingers lacing with hers. What if I'm like him? His father, the brilliant, absent surgeon who'd chosen the or over family. Hope turned his face toward hers. You won't be. How do you know? Because you already choose me over work every day. She kissed his knuckles. Even when it pisses you off. Damien's throat worked. We'll need a bigger apartment. Hope laughed wetly. That's your takeaway? He pulled her into his lap, his voice rough against her hair. And a backup generator. And a pediatrician on speed dial. Damien. He cupped her face, his eyes blazing. We're having a baby. And just like that, the fear melted into something else. Something bright and terrifying and perfect. Hope grinned. Hell yes, we are. Pregnancy, as it turned out, did not mix well with 12-hour surgeries. By month 6, Hope's back ached, her feet swelled, and she regularly fantasized about murdering anyone who said, "You're glowing." But the real trouble started during a routine valve replacement. Hope, assisting Damien, felt the first cramp halfway through. False labor, she told herself. Just dehydration. Then her water broke. On the sterile field. The OR went dead silent. Damien froze, his scalpel hovering mid-incision. Hope cleared her throat. So, funny story. The anesthesiologist fainted. 2 hours later, Hope was very done with being a patient. I am the doctor here, she snarled, batting away Damien's hands as he tried to adjust her hospital gown. And you are hovering. Damien didn't budge. You're in labor. Astute observation, Dr. Vargas. Naomi, perched on a stool with a bag of chips, sighed. You two are exhausting. The OB resident, looking deeply traumatized, edged toward the door. I'll just give you a moment. Hope grabbed her wrist. Don't you dare leave me with these idiots. The door swung open. Move. Dr. Patel barreled in, arms full of 4 bags. I brought fluids, lidocaine, and, oh God, is that a foot? Hope screamed into a pillow. Damien, pale but steady, pressed his forehead to hers. Breathe me corazon. She glared. I hate you. He kissed her, slow and sweet. Liar. A cry. Their cry. And just like that, nothing else mattered. Scene 6. The aftermath. Baby Vargas Acosta. 6 pounds 9 ounces of pure chaos. Born in or for because of course she was. Damien stared at the tiny human in his arms like she'd performed magic. She has your nose, he murmured. Hope, exhausted and stupidly in love, smiled. Poor kid. Naomi snapped a photo. And your temper. The nurses are already placing bets on who she'll yell at first. Patel peered at the baby. Fascinating. Do you think she'll be right-handed or? Damien kicked him out. Alone at last, Hope traced their daughter's cheek. What should we name her? Damien didn't hesitate. Stethoscope. Hope choked. What? Kidding. His thumb brushed hers. How about, Elena? After your abuela. Hope's eyes burned. Elena it is. Then the baby sneezed. Damien immediately paged pediatrics. Hope laughed until she cried. Epilogue. 3 months later. The OR board at St. Augustine now had a new line. No infants allowed, except Elena, because Vargas will literally murder us. Hope, back at work, pumped breast milk between surgeries. Damien, somehow even more protective, installed a baby monitor in every on-call room. And Elena? She already had the entire cardiac wing wrapped around her tiny fingers. Just like her mother. Think.